Hello everybody, this is Avantik here. We'll import pandas, followed by that we are working on a subset of the data. Actual data is in Cassandra. We are not yet connecting there. We're just loading a subset of the data and we have some 50,000 rows here. Okay, so this is a simulation of loading a subset of the data. Once you do that, you can see the data frame.info. We have a time column, which we think is not required, and we have other columns v1, v2 and all. This you can think as encrypted data published. Okay, and you have one more important column, amount. This is the amount of transaction that has happened. And you have one column, class, which tells you whether class 0 or 1. Okay, if you see the data, so we have all this v1 to vn over here. Time is there, which is not required, and amount is there, which is not centered. We need to take care of that. And we have the class, which is 0 and 1. So we need to see just class distribution. As we can see here, if you do credit data.class.value counts, you can see the majority of the data is of class 0 and very small subset is class 1. This is what you call is imbalanced data. Now is the time to separate feature data from the target data. So apart from time and class, everything is part of it feature data. Why is your target data? Okay, so after this, let's understand, why we need sampling and other techniques. Few of the observations that we have made is data is highly imbalanced. Time column is not required, so we're getting rid of that. Except amount, all the other columns are pretty much centered. Okay, so we need a standard scaler to center this particular data, the amount column. And we need to do same sampling on the data. So let's first understand what are various sampling and what package we'll be using. So the package that is required is IM-balanced learn. Okay, so if you Google, you land up to a page like this, IM-balanced learn. Okay, this is not yet part of your scikit-learn, but eventually after some time it will be. Okay, and this is the package that is, so you have to do pip install, like this is the command, pip install IM-balanced learn. Once you have installed this, there are a couple of sampling techniques that are available with us now. Okay, all you have to do is from IMB learn dot oversampling. If you're doing oversampling, oversampling is increasing the smaller representative. Undersampling is reducing the larger representative. Okay, so we have oversampling technique smooth, which is like, whatever data is less representative, you try to generate more data from it. Like it will be similar data to it, it will try to generate more. Let's see all these techniques by the visualization. We're trying to generate some data. Okay, make classification. Using this, we are trying to generate some sample. This is how it looks like. So as you can see, there are three classes: purple, green, and yellow. Okay, this is current representative. If you use smooth, what I discussed is it will try to infer more data out of, like you have these data, it will try to generate something in the middle of it and name it this particular class. So smooth fit sample, current X and Y, it will generate new data. The new data distribution will be same now. As you can see in this case, it has generated a lot of purple data, a lot of blue data, yellow. So number of data for all the classes is same. Okay. So this is smooth. What we have, another option is smooth ENN. Okay, this is little modified version of smooth. What it does is, if the surrounding data is not of a particular class, it removes that and tries to generate more from this class. As you can see, compared with the previous diagram, here you have purple, but here most of the data is yellow. So that's why it deleted the data, it generated more data towards this place, right? That is your smooth ENN. So we'll try to use any of the sampling technique. That means whatever data we have now, we'll use this sampling smooth or smooth EENN to generate more representative of the current data, right? Okay, let's understand various estimators now. Once we are done with understanding sampling techniques, let's find the estimator here. So we have three possible categories to consider. One is linear classifier using SGD classifier. One is ensemble method using random forest. Another is support vector classifier. We're creating a list of all the models that we want to consider. We're creating a list of all the sampling techniques, right? These are sampling techniques transformers. Smooth, ENN. Remember the way we use them? So we have this transformer, we're doing a fit sample, okay, X and Y, it generates new sample, okay. So we have created list of both. And we have imported random forest classifier from ensemble, SGD classifier from linear model, and SVC from .svm, right? So we have all the classifiers with us, we have all the samplers with us. Now we need to stitch them together. And remember, we want to connect standard scaler also here for scaling, all the columns which is not standardized. Let's understand the concept of pipelines and we'll see how to stitch them together. Now that we understand, we have to do standard scaling on the data. We have to apply sampling techniques so that the data is more balanced. And then finally, we have to connect estimator. So as you can see, this is a sequential step. And this is where we have a concept of pipeline, of stitching things together. Okay, scikit-learn pipeline, the pipeline default with scikit-learn does not support stitching sampling techniques to it. That is why we have to use pipeline provided by IMB-learn. Okay, let's see how to do that. So we have here IMB-learn pipeline import make pipeline. Very similar to your scikit-learn, just that this guy supports samplers, right? We have the model pipelines as an empty list where we'll create all the possible combinations of pipeline and put it there for model in models and for sample in samplers, right? So we have different combination of model and sampler. We're making pipeline. Standard scaler is common to all of them. We have a sampler and a model, and whatever pipeline it is creating, right? We are adding to the model.pipelines. So as you can see, this is the first thing is standard scaler, followed by smooth, followed by one of the algorithm here, maybe SVM estimator, right? SVM. So you can see all the pipelines you have now added to the model pipelines. So this is list of all different pipelines with different combination. Okay, we have already got the feature data and target data. We're just extracting it again. Then we need to split the data into train and test. That's what we are doing now, train and test. The main data we are splitting just to validate, because we have 50,000 rows of data. We just want to validate everything is all right before we actually train this with all the data and see all the results, right? Just to check if things are all right. We're doing pipeline.fit, train X, train Y, and we are seeing, okay, fine, it's not showing any error. That means things are fine with smaller data. Whenever you're doing this experiment, right, don't do with all the data, do with smaller data so that if there is an error, it comes faster. That's all from this module. The next module will be doing hyperparameter tuning. We'll be putting all these things inside classes, right? And we'll be doing reading the data from Cassandra. Hello everybody, this is Avantik here. Welcome to the fourth module of our AI project, Credit Card Fraud Detection. In this module, we'll try to understand the code flow, like different components, how they interact with each other. We'll design class for our model, right? It will have training, validation, hyperparameters, all those will be there. We'll discuss about all possible hyperparameters in this case. Then we'll have a class about, reading and writing to Cassandra. Then we train the model with subset of the data set to see if everything is all right. Then we train with all the data sets. Then we validate the model and apparently choose the best model which is suited for deployment. Okay, so this is all we'll do in this course. Let's get started. Let's start with code flow. So we'll have three major classes. One is TXinfo. TXinfo is the class which contains data schema. Okay, because we'll be using Python Cassandra ORM. Okay, so we need to convert the schema of the data into a class. Okay, TFinfo. Just to show a glimpse of it. Right? This file will look something like this. Okay, this is based on the data. This is our data, right? Schema of the data. We have time, V1, V2, and all that. And it's very similar to that, except for one fact that we have added one additional field, TXID. This is required if we want to persist data in Cassandra. I mean, you need some primary key. We have added this external artificial primary key here, TXID, and it is auto-generating values. In the database, it looks something like this. this field. Okay, so this is the first class. The next class is, the class which will have everything that is required to read and write from Cassandra read write DB. Okay, so the name of the file is Cassandra read write.py. This is the class. You can see here it is initializing, writing to the Cassandra table, reading from Cassandra table. We'll get into details in the next video. Okay, so this is the file we'll have. And the third file is mlmodel.py. It will have all the configuration regarding model training, and it will persist all the models. Everything is inside this. Let's get into the next video and try to understand this Cassandra read write DB first. Okay, Cassandra read write class. So this class will have configuration, right? You need to configure here some IP address of Cassandra nodes. You need to configure here the key space, that is the database name. Okay, we need to configure here the class that we want to sync with the table. Okay, that is the data class that we have written. Then we have to transfer multiple CSV files from different systems into this database. Finally, we'll be reading this Cassandra and creating pandas data frame. Okay, so let's get into the code. We have this class Cassandra read write DB. This is the init. Okay, and what we are doing here, we are passing the configuration of IP address of one or more than one Cassandra nodes. This is the key space. Okay, and here it is. This is how we are configuring it. Protocol version is basically telling which Cassandra version it is using. 3 is the one that we are installed in our system. So protocol version 3. Okay, and this is initializing of Cassandra, driver that will talk to the Cassandra, and all this connection and all this thing is part of Cassandra SQL engine. Okay, as we discussed earlier, you need to install Cassandra driver for Python. The next thing is syncing the table. So txinfo model, right? This is the class that represents the data. Okay, we need to sync this. So this is we are passing this class. You can have multiple of them. Okay, we are syncing it to the Cassandra database. Now we will be reading contents from different CSV file and syncing it to the Cassandra. So this is what we are doing. This is one file here, credit log. So of course you can call this function multiple times from different systems. Okay, and the CSV file we are using dict reader. Okay, this will convert each row into a dictionary where key will be the column name, value will be the corresponding value. Okay, and its delimiter is comma. Okay, that's what you are configuring. It is returning with the CSV reader. Of course, it's an iterator. Okay, so we are looping through it, and this is an ordered dictionary here. Okay, please remember this is an ordered dictionary. We need to convert into normal dictionary that we did using dict function. And star dict means it just unenvelopes it, passes it to create function. Create will take all this key and value and it will persist it to the database. Okay, so this is the class type, okay, that we just created, txinfo model. This is the create, and it will create an object, sync it to the database. And once this is done, you should be able to see things like this. Okay, whatever data you have sent. Okay, this is writing to the database. Now, once the database is ready, all the contents are there, you need to read some data from it, create a pandas data frame, which you will use with scikit-learn, right? We are looping through all the rows of the database, txinfo model.objects. Okay, and we are creating from each row, we have this function from records. From each row, we are creating one data frame and we are appending to the bigger data frame, right? Append. With this entire process, the bigger data frame don't have any column names. So we need to assign the column names also. That is what we did using key.queues, q.keys. Okay, and finally we are returning it. If you execute this, since we have already synced to the data, since we have already written to the database, I'll comment this part. I'll just show the read contents. Okay, you can see this is the data frame that it has reading from the database. This is the transaction ID and so on. This is all about this class. Of course, you can reuse this class multiple times, because sender can be different, receiver can be different. I just put everything in one code so that we can easily read, understand, and execute it. Okay. Let's start with the model class. We will create a class in which we'll have utilities like set estimators, set scalars, set samplers, set hyperparameters, create pipelines, fit and score. As it is very clear from the API name itself, using set estimators, it allows us to configure multiple learning algorithms to be experimenting with, right? We can configure many learning algorithms. We can configure multiple scalars. We can configure multiple samplers, right? We can have bunch of hyperparameters. We'll create pipeline and eventually we'll train it and find the best model out of it. Let's see the code. We have this build ML pipeline. This is the class we are trying to build here. As we can see, import, these are learning algorithms. These are for dealing with imbalanced classes, IMB learn. We have discussed earlier. This is the pre-processing technique. Now, we have this function set estimators. This function takes multiple estimators. Like you can configure SVC, you can configure random forest, right, and many more. Based on what you configure, it just matches with the string. Okay, that's what we are doing over here, and returns you the estimator object. So algorithm is pretty much abstracted in this code. You can change the algorithm, and user application didn't change because of this part. Okay, just that you have to make sure you handle those keys or the algorithm names. So self-taught estimator will be a list of estimated objects. Similarly, for scalars, we are configuring these scalars. User will configure any one of them or both of them, and it will return a list of scalar objects which will be mapped here, self-taught scalars. Okay, then you have a set underscore samplers. Okay, in set underscore samplers, we have these possible sampling techniques, smooth and smooth ENN. Okay, these are possible samplers. And what we're doing over here is you are based on what you configure, again, you're creating sampler objects and putting it in the list. You have something similar, for hyperparameters. You will configure all the hyperparameters outside. We'll see that in the next video. And it will be just mapped over here when you call this function. And with all the possible combination of, sampler, estimators, and scalars, we want to create different pipelines. And we are adding those pipeline in this member model underscore pipelines. Okay, so if we execute this piece of code, this is how we will be doing it. This is the test piece of code. Always write a class, and in the same class write the test piece of code. It's a little easier to test it out when you're doing the development activity. Set.estimators, you have that SVC, random forest classifier. Set scalar, you have this, right? This will invoke all those functions, create the list, and eventually you have create pipelines. So till this point, you have created multiple pipelines with different combinations of scalar transformers, your estimators. Okay, and we'll see in the next video how to configure these hyperparameters and how we are dealing with it here. Okay. Hyperparameter tuning, finding the best model configuration for the pipeline, and on top of it, configuring the components like scalars, samplers, estimators the best way is one major compute extensive activity. This can be best achieved using techniques or libraries like grid search. We'll see that. As of now, we have till the previous video, we have created pipeline. Now we want to provide all the various configuration for anything that is participating there. We have smooth ENN, right? So we have one configuration like this. So you can see this is the dictionary that I'm creating, and the dictionary, this is one of the sampler or scalar, right? And this is the possible configuration. So this is one of the hyperparameter, right? And smooth underscore you have to pass. Okay, this is the identification that you're passing this hyperparameter corresponding to this, because in a pipeline there will be multiple components. We need to tell this particular hyperparameter is for which component. Smooth ENN, so that's why smooth ENN double underscore. Make sure you don't miss that. These are strategies. I'm leaving that out of scope of this video to understand why these parameters. You can take this, I know you're doing some initial brute force, right? Okay, and say you realize this is the best algorithms and these are the sampling technique, and you want to really see how does that work. Based on that, you will build some intuition, and doing this, you will get the expertise how to figure that out. Okay, then we want to use random forest classifier. So this is the hyperparameters for that. N estimator. So we want to try with 8 trees. We want to try with 12 trees. Then you have SVC, as there are multiple SVC kernels that is possible, linear, RPF, poly, and this is the regularization factor, like C parameter of SVC, which tells you how much misclassification it allows. So this is a dictionary, as you can see here. This is dictionary of dictionaries, and we are conferring that in our set hyperparameter function. Once you are done with this, okay, we are loading a sample file, may not be entire file. We are selecting feature data in X, target data in Y, splitting the data in train and test. Right, this is the library that is available in scikit-learn, and we want to fit it. Right, fit comes here. Okay, now for the fit part, okay, we have all the pipelines, all the model pipelines already existing. We need to wrap around that with the best hyperparameters. So here we're extracting the first parameter of each pipeline. Okay, so how to understand that? First, we need to see how to realize that fact. Print ml underscore pipeline dot model underscore pipeline, right? Model underscore pipeline. Okay, I've commented the rest of the stuff. This should just show me this. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's see. I think it's model pipelines. Yeah. And we can see here, like this is the first element, right? Standard scalar. Okay, so if you want to do any configuration in that, standard scalar underscore underscore. Similarly, smooth en underscore. These are the components. What you are trying to get here is from, this is the steps from which you are trying to extract these values. Like what are the components inside it to make the code more generic. That's what we are trying to do here. We are finding those elements that is present in LMs. For each element, I'm trying to find whether that is present in my parameter dictionary or not. If it is present, I take the corresponding values from it. And this is the parameter grid, right? So this is the grid search dictionary. This will be all the configuration that is available, that is required for the pipeline. I'm updating in this dictionary. This is the dictionary I'm updating in this. So if you want to combine dictionaries together, this is what you do, updating dictionary. Once this is done, your parameter grid is ready for that pipeline. So we are creating a grid search. This is the pipeline parameter grid and jobs -1, so that it makes use of all the cores, all the CPUs. CV is equal to 5, so that it divides the data into 5 parts. 4 part it used for training, 1 part it used for validation. Okay. And during the fit part, I'm passing it with all the data, train X, train Y. Okay. And once if the model training is done, each grid search will return you the best configuration for the pipeline. So what we are trying to do here is we are saving all those trained pipeline here in self .gs pipelines. So we are appending all these things. GS pipeline, as you can see, it's everything. Later on, we'll try to persist and all. And once we are done with this, right, we have all this configuration. Once we are done with this, we will do fit and then score. Okay, so all far, all good so far. Okay, to validate this piece of code, ML modular. Okay, and it will take some time. Okay, and it will execute the entire hyperparameter tuning. It will show the score. Okay, that's the next thing, score. In score, what will do, it will see for all the trained and the best model for each pipeline, and it will do prediction corresponding to that. And we are using confusion matrix. Confusion matrix will show what is the degree of misclassification for both the entities. Okay, so maybe I can take a subset of the data. We have 10,000. So let's train it now. May take some time. Okay, this is just 10,000. Actual data is more than 2 lakhs. And so if you're training that, you better test it with all smaller piece of code, unit test all these things. So when you finally do a training part of it, it might take whole night. So rather than waiting for it, this is how, you should break down the bigger problem into smaller chunks and do it. Now we see the results. Uh, this was with the first pipeline. This is with the second pipeline. The 0 is the pipeline number. So in this case, we're not, persisting that. But once we persist, we can get further details. We'll see that later. Okay, so with this experiment, I'll just revisit the code. All we have is, we configured all these hyperparameters. We had few of the estimators, scalars, samplers, created the pipeline, configured all the hyperparameters, right? Then trained the model and used the score function. And we printed confusion matrix here. Confusion matrix, this diagonal things tells you, what is correct classification. This, apart from the diagonal, these 0 and 1 tells you what is the misclassification. Okay, so in this case, as you can see, both class lesser representative, that means the anomaly or the fraud data, it is correctly identifying since this is 0. In this case, okay, it is misclassifying non-anomaly data or non-fraud transaction into fraud transaction. That's the information you get. You want to get this 0, or you're fine if to a certain degree you can classify a transaction to a fraud. But if it is not, if okay, and it's not, okay, you're fine with this classification. Now that we have created machine learning model, we unit tested that piece of code, we created classes to read and write to Cassandra, we unit tested that piece of code. Now time to stitch everything together and create a complete solution. And you can configure more hyperparameters now, because this is the one that will be running after basic unit testing. This is the one that will be running overnight, okay, to get the results. Okay, because it will take time given the size of the data and given the number of experiments you want to do. Okay, so we'll create this main.py. Okay, so this is our file main.py. Of course, like other files, this is also uploaded in GitHub. So here, we are importing this class Cassandra read write DB, configuring the needful IP address, key space. Then we are syncing the table. This is the schema of the data which we want to map to the database, right? This is the file that we want to read. We are syncing to this and we are writing to the database. Okay, it might take some time given the size of the data. Then you're getting the data from the Cassandra table, creating a data frame. Once you've done that, this is the similar stuff. You're creating the, configuring the estimators. I'm configuring SGD classifier, random forest classifier. You can configure any of them. Just make sure, the dictionary that you have to keep updating if you have more parameters. Okay, as you can see, this code is very much agnostic of, what algorithm you're using. This, from today's scikit-learn, you find a new version or, new library, you want to experiment with that, with the same stuff you can do with that. So application code is less impacted by the algorithm, like library. Okay, it's not dependent on the library. The final application code is least impacted. This is the hyperparameters here. Okay, and here you are splitting the data into train and test, same training the model, and finally the score. So this is the thing that will take a lot of time to execute. Okay, so you can start running this application, and it will keep, you know, the CPU will be, there are a lot of useful stuffs to see the CPU usage. One is htop, right? If you do this, you can see the current CPU usage. Okay, current RAM usage, htop, that's the command. Okay, in Linux environment, you should keep it running in one tab when you're running the machine learning to get a sense of it, you know, are you using all the cores and all that. Okay, so let's see now. Okay, I'll start with okay, since my data is already loaded. Okay, so I'll have to delete this so that we can create drop table. It will delete it. Once this is deleted, okay, it's deleted. Okay, so now once this is deleted, we want to run this whole application. Let's see it again. Okay, and it's writing whole data. It is more than 2.5 lakhs. You have all the configuration, multiple algorithm, multiple samplers, right? So it will create a lot of permutation combination of pipelines. This is the you know, hyperparameters, and you have all the stuffs now. Okay, so this is the column. Here you have transaction ID, right? You're reading from the database, which you do not want in training the model. That's why you have to skip this, right? Transaction ID, and pretty much everything is same. Okay, and okay, so let's try running it. Let's see if there is some errors or so. Okay, it will take time. Okay, in the next module, we'll see the results of it, how we are saving it, all those things. Okay, that's all from this module. It will take time running. Let it run. I'll leave it for overnight. Okay, and that's all from now. Thank you, guys. Hello, everybody. This is Avantik here. Welcome to final and the last module of our series, credit card fraud detection. The agenda for the series should be, choosing the solution. That means we had multiple pipelines which you trained, and now we want to find out which model is the best, right? We'll choose that. Then we'll understand the entire architecture and see where does our solution fit in. We'll see 2 ways of deployment. We'll try to run the model in Kafka consumer, get the data from Kafka producers, predict and put it back to Cassandra. Then we'll try to put the model behind REST interface. And again, we'll do the same thing for the predictions. Let's get started. Once we train the model, right, we'll get an output of score, and we are using confusion matrix. Okay, this is the output of confusion matrix. We have 4 model. Okay, we have minimized the configuration 4 model, and this is the unknown data. As we can see, the first one, there is huge misclassification, right? Diagonal is the correct, this opposite to this diagonal, right? This is misclassification. Here also you see a lot of misclassification. These 2 seems fine. Okay, we can consider, you know, experimenting further on these 2 models. Okay, and maybe, you know, by increasing the data and all, we could conclude which one is better. For the sake of, you know, saving time, I'm taking the third or the last module, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So I'm taking the last module. So when we wrote the code, let me increase the font. Okay, when we wrote the code, when it was training, we did this dump. Joblib have this utility dump. Okay, we could have configured it from outside, dump and load, right, to save the model and load the model. So we are using dump. We are saving the trained pipeline model name, and we are putting it IDX like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we know we have to take the 4th one. So we will see in the directory we have this model3.pipeline. This is what is happening. So for each model, you can print the model number, and then when you save it, you know which one you want to use for prediction and all that. So save all of them so that you can validate with all of them, see the results, and, you know, take it further. Okay, so this is the model, how to save the model, how to choose the model. This is that part. Let's, try to deploy this on Kafka. Now let's revisit the solution which you have, designed, and what are the components you have built so far. We had our, CSV file which consisted of transaction records, and we used our Cassandra class to write those text files into Cassandra. We then read those text files from Cassandra using another module. After that, we had our model class, which trained different model, and eventually we found out the best model. Now time has come to deploy them. Okay, so we have chosen model 3 and we want to deploy them. So first aspect would be, our transaction data is coming from Kafka producers, right? These are Kafka producers. It's coming to Kafka server. So in the Kafka consumer, the model should be present. So whatever data is coming from Kafka producer, it should be able to predict as live that whether the transaction is, fraud or not. Okay, and then the result should be persisted. This is what we'll do in the next video. After that, we'll try to deploy the selected models behind REST interface. Okay, we'll use Flask to create this REST interface. Okay, and the prediction there also will try to sync with Cassandra. That's the agenda now. Okay, so in the next 2 videos, one will try integrating with Kafka, integrating the trained model with Kafka. Next one will try to integrate the trained model with REST interface, and that will be the end of the series. Let's see in the next video how to integrate with Kafka and what are the different components. Let's get into this part where you're trying to integrate Kafka with model. So first we need to run our Kafka servers, right? So for that we need to start with Zookeeper, right? We need to run our Zookeeper. Go to the Kafka directory. Okay, I'll share the link, of how to install Kafka and all that in the description below. So this is the directory where Kafka is, and this is, I'm starting the Zookeeper. This is the first thing you have to start. After that, you have to start Kafka server. Let's start Kafka server. Here it is. So go to the bin directory. Right, this is how you are starting the Kafka server. Kafka server start config server properties. That's it. It will run the Kafka server on the default port, which is good enough for us. Okay, once this is done, you want to create Kafka producer. You needn't create topic. So Kafka has this concept of topic here. Like if you want to send transaction message, you can say I will send message to transaction like credit card TX topic. So anybody who is interested to read this message will read the messages from there. Okay, so you needn't create topic, it automatically gets created. Let's now just see the code in which we will send this message. This is the producer code. What we are doing here, Kafka producer, we are telling the serializer, right? Since we are sending JSON contents, JSON dumps, right? We are importing JSON dumps the message encode ASCII. So it will serialize the JSON message, one of the easiest case, because our transaction records is in JSON content. Let's see the transaction record. Okay, there's some content which does not have the class in it. Of course, new transaction, right? It does not have class, but everything is in JSON. And you need to use Kafka producer to convert this JSON, serialize this JSON and send it to Kafka server. And you're reading one line of the file and sending the transaction after every 5 seconds, as you can see. This is a simple simulation of Kafka producer. You can say after every 5 seconds, somebody is swiping their credit card and the messages are going to the Kafka server. Clear? Now, what you have to do is, once your messages are being sending. So if you want to send, it's simple. Just do this. Right? It's sending one message at a time. You can see this message, no class information. Now let's see the model deployment part of the code. Let's increase the font. Okay, so we have this consumer on, of course, we have init. We are initializing this with the model, a little bit of hard coding here. Of course, you can pass this as an argument to the consumer. and we have Kafka information, and we are telling auto offset reset. That means it will start from the beginning, whatever data is there in the Kafka server, right? Okay, this is that configuration. This is the timeout. This is again decoder of the JSON messages, and it is subscribing to this topic. Remember, when you're sending on this topic, right? Credit card TX. So when you're if you have to receive, you have to receive on the same topic, credit card TX. And as a consumer, right? As a consumer, you have to receive all the time. That's why it is inside while true. Okay, so you're receiving the messages inside message.value from records. You're dropping this time column. If you do best estimator dot predict df, right? This is each data. You're converting that data into a data frame using this function. JSON content, converting that into a data frame. Once you have a data frame, you're using model.best estimator. We have chosen third pipeline. We are using the, since it was calculated using grid search, we have to use best estimator. And we are using that to predict the outcome. And the outcome we are adding to the dictionary, which, right, message.value, this was the dictionary which consists of all the data coming from Kafka producer. We are adding this P over here. This is one more field, and which we will now write to JSON. But remember, your Cassandra need to support this function, right? JSON to table, and we want to create another table. We don't want to write in the existing table from which we read the content. So we have created another file, predict tx info. Right? Pretty much same, just one thing is different. One is the name predict, and then the P, this is the prediction. Okay, actual value was C, this is the prediction. So we just mapped. Okay, so what we are doing here, we just mapped this class, predict tx info, to Cassandra, right? So this table is sent. So now you're using this function, write JSON table, right? Let's see this code. Okay, let's see this code. Here you have write JSON table. All it is doing is simply writing this data to syncing this table to Cassandra. That's all. Start dict, right? Because you're passing there a dictionary. Okay, so whatever prediction is happening, it is adding to the dictionary and writing to the JSON, writing to the Cassandra. So I hope this part is clear. What we did here is we ran our Cassandra infrastructure, Zookeeper Cassandra server. We have a Cassandra producer which will send Cassandra transaction to the Cassandra server. We have a Kafka producer which will send transactions to your Kafka server. Kafka's consumer is connected to that topic. It will read those messages, use the best algorithm to predict outcome, and then write it back to the Cassandra. So that is all is happening. Okay. So in the next video, where we will try to put this model behind REST interface. Welcome to the last video of the series. We're trying to put a model behind REST interface, the one we have chosen from our this selection. This is the one that we chosen, right? Model 3. We want to put it behind REST interface. We'll use Flask. This is a very popular framework for web development. We are using Flask for creating the REST interface, and it will have model in it. Let's see how to download and get started with Flask. It's you really don't need to know a lot about it, just few lines of code. Okay, this is what is Flask, and to install it, you'll do pip install Flask. That's the command. Okay, pip install Flask. Yeah, that's the command, pip install Flask. Once this is done, everything is ready. Okay, so we have a small piece of code over here. So as you can understand, if you run a web server, and you can do a web request to that, you can send a HTTP request to that, right? And you can access it through curl as well. There is another utility curl. So you have to install curl for that. Okay, so this is how you access curl. This is the command-based utility to access web server. Okay, so this is the content type, this is the JSON information, and this is the URL on which we are developing. We are trying to create this URL, and you can imagine any credit card transaction, you can send this message using a form or some other way to the REST server, which is running on this port, and it will be able to predict whether the transaction is fraud or not. Okay, so let's see this here. Let's see the Flask code. That's all. Okay, so we have from Flask, importing Flask JSON file for converting the contents so that it can be sent across the network. That is what it is, serialization. And then request. Joblive, we have seen this earlier, will now try to load the train model using this. Pandas is there, and Cassandra read, right? Because we have to write the prediction in the database, right? And this is the class which will be mapped. So we of course can do all this thing in a separate class. I just kept these things little outside. Okay, Cassandra DB, CWD, and you have sync class table for mapping this class to database. Okay, and this is the function which will get invoked when you call the function /predict/tx. Okay, so let's see this. Here we will try to test this using our curl. Okay, this is the utility to test it, curl. I'll have this message pasted in the wiki section. Okay, so we can test it, curl content type, and you are sending the URL. It is equivalent to sending a message through a form. Okay, you'll write the similar, equivalent version to that. So what is happening over here? You're getting the messages inside request.json, whatever message you are sending it from here, the entire content. This is, as you can see, one row of the data from here to here. Remember, you have to get rid of the time column. That's what you did. First, you converted the JSON content into data frame, getting rid of the time column, loading the model, and you're using the best model for doing the prediction. And once the prediction is done, you are altering the dictionary, and finally writing into the Cassandra database using write JSON table. Okay, let's see this happening. And once you are done with everything, you're sending the entire data to the requester. It will this particular guy will get this data. Say this is how I'm sending it now. Okay, I need to run the server, and let's check the database to see if everything is all right. So we have 24 rows now. Okay, so let's see. Let's send the message. Okay, it said connection failed. Then probably my server is not running. Right, server has to run. Let it come up. Yeah. Then I should send the REST post message. Right, sending all this data and all. Once this is sent, this guy will be connecting data with CRC. It is doing the prediction p is equal to 0. That means it is not a malicious. Again, it is returning this content with this p. We would really want to see now if the content got wrote in 24 rows we had earlier. We have 25 rows. Okay, so similar to our Kafka consumer setup, the REST server is predicting the output writing to the database. That's all is happening now. Okay, that's all from this series. We understood how to create entire pipeline for credit card fraud detection. Okay, thank you guys. The links for all the code and everything will be present in GitHub slides. The commands will be in the wiki. So make sure you follow the GitHub, which is mentioned in the description. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot.